Great. Good evening, everybody. Before I get started, 2019, we tried saying no to Nupur. We became sort of core members of Winpe. Again, tried saying no last Friday, so here I am. So I think that's my track record in saying no to Nupur. So, the irony of today is not lost on me. We've got two great women leaders, Rochelle, Anshul, most of you must have met them. They are out traveling on work, and what you get right now is a guy to talk to you about everything, right? So that's where we are. As we think about the journey, and what I'll do is over the next 5-7 minutes talk about the Lighthouse journey along with Winpe, I would say over the past 8-9 years. When we think about Rochelle, Anshul as our senior women leaders, one thing we sort of thought about is that, they joined the firm. Rochelle joined us almost 13-14 years ago. Anshul joined us 10 years ago. And that got us thinking that, was it by design, was it luck that they're doing so well in the organization? And we realized a mixture of both. Part of it is org design, but mostly it was luck. So it was a great coincidence that Nupur started Winpe in 2019, and that's something we could work together with her firm is design an organization that is far more collaborative, that is far more inclusive, and that really has the sort of systems in place to foster more of the same, right? So that was a very conscious effort. The other aspect as I was sort of putting this together was, like Ashley pointed out, is that, the risk of talking here is, you don't want to sit here and mansplain, right? Because all of you understand diversity, all of you understand gender really well. And the idea here is not to really put yourself in a woman's lens. And also, I'm not even a deal guy, I'm an operations guy. But it goes back to the earlier point somebody said, that is really the infrastructure designing for the organization. So all of this is not residing in the deal part of the organization. All of this is residing in the process, the policies, the recruiting, the reviews, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Now, this is something that has been sort of evangelized by Winpe for quite some time. If you don't interview women, you'll not get to hire them, right? I think that's really the fact. So something we did quite early on in sort of the redesign was that at every time we would hire somebody, we would make sure 50% of the pool is women, right? And that's something we've really followed quite closely. The result of that was that, you can see it right at the top, 53% of our women last year of the total workforce was women. I think that's worked out really well for us. The second aspect of it has been really designing policies around, coexisting with women. And I think something that's really worked well for us is because we've had women at a junior level, also at a senior level, we've been able to truly design a maternity policy that can be implemented. And we've seen live examples of that. And as we were designing these policies, a couple of aspects here. We started talking to a couple of our large LPs. These were sort of institutional LPs. And what we really realized was that even their sort of policies were not truly best in class. So we were able to design something that was quite superior to what you'd expect global LPs to have. So that's really worked well for us. The second aspect really, which is I think quite important, which sits on the other side of maternity is how do you not leave somebody behind, right? So I think the Chris presentation spoke briefly about this, is when you are evaluating people who are sort of not in office because of their maternity leave or because they have reduced face time, how do you build sort of evaluation procedures that don't penalize them for that? And we've been able to do that quite successfully. So that's really worked well for us. And the third aspect, I don't think I have to talk about it, is really the mentorship program of Winpe. We've had mentees throughout cohort 1 to 6. We've been very grateful to sort of have world-class mentors. Some of you are in the room here tonight. So thank you from everybody at Lighthouse for sort of mentoring them. We really appreciate that. And of course, we obviously have a graph in the presentation, cannot exclude one. This has really been our journey, sort of, if you think about diversity over the past 10 years, right? And what really stands out here, I want to point this out, is that over the last sort of year or so, our last 4 hires have been men, right? So I'm sitting here talking about diversity, I'm here talking about Winpe, and we've gone and hired 4 guys, right? So what does that really mean? I think what it really shows is that this truly means that diversity is in action at Lighthouse, right? So you interview the right set of people, you have that sort of, what I would say, a gender balance in the recruiting cohort. you do your sort of gender bias training when you're interviewing people, and then the best candidate sort of wins in the interview process. So we've been truly following that. And right now we are close to 43% as you look at gender balance across investing and operations. So we feel quite good about that. But I just wanted to sort of highlight that. And then the other vector sort of, which has been spoken about is, okay, that's the organization, but what about where you're putting capital to work, right? And I think what we've seen over the past funds is that the biggest impact you can have when you're investing capital is if you truly back a women entrepreneur, right? We saw that in Fund 3. We backed a very popular, truly accomplished female leader who went on to sort of build a beauty platform business that got listed. And the metrics of that business truly blew through the sort of the roof, right? Both in terms of hiring, both in terms of both blue collar as well as white collar workers, and even the value creation that happened, right? So many people left that organization to do startups who were women. So, this is something we've struggled with is when you're investing in the mid-market in a country that is very paternalistic, that has a lot of sort of family businesses, how do you truly back sort of women entrepreneurs? But then we also ask ourselves, right, that if we could do it without a female founder, then why can't our portfolio companies, right? So that's a question we really ask ourselves, that is not an excuse enough. We can't be sort of sitting on our thumbs and saying, let's go find the next female entrepreneur who wants to raise 350 crores. That may not happen. What's also encouraging is the whole WeWin platform, right? Something getting incubated now may become relevant for Fund 5, Fund 6, Fund 7. So that's very encouraging. I know it's an infra problem, not a pipeline problem, but I think it'll become a pipeline for Lighthouse. The only risk is that by the time it comes to us, it'll be at a ridiculous sales multiple, so maybe not, right? And then, of course, very sort of quickly, folks have talked about this, in integrating the whole aspect into gender lens investing. We're doing all of this now. We weren't doing this 3-4 years ago. So there's a gender DD that's happening when we commission our DDs. The IC memos doesn't just get a male-female sort of small data point. There are sort of aspects in the IC memo on what opportunities do we have with these companies at the diligence stage or we can implement in the next 4 to 5 years. And of course, I think we're getting better at KPI tracking. Our KPI tracking was very retrospective. You get a query from a LP, you go back to companies, try and get the data. Now our team is being far more proactive. It's a lot more gender disaggregated. So our quality of reporting has sort of gone up. And I like how it's nicely dovetailing into what we're reporting at Winpe. And a lot of this really is because of Winpe. So we feel quite good about that. And very quickly, sort of before I wrap up, a lot's happening at the portfolio also, right? So even when you look at our portfolios, I would say 90% is family businesses. Almost 90% of cases, these are men in the families running the businesses. But increasingly, you are seeing the kids who are women who want to join the businesses. So they are, even from our point of view, sort of paying it back. There are mentoring opportunities even within our portfolio companies. So we have 2 instances in Fund 4 where companies, male founders, kids have returned from business school. They want to not set up a family office, but join the business. And our team is actually mentoring them on various aspects. So I think that, is very encouraging, and we don't talk enough about that. The second aspect, again, is really the compliance rollout. Not to be sort of taken lightly, and this has no correlation to the size of the enterprise. Larger businesses also, things are missing, so we are working a lot on that as well. And the last aspect really is every fund we are setting hiring targets. So, we have a 20% target in our last fund across boards, across senior management, and across blue and sort of white-collar workers. So that is something that is very measurable, right? And just to wrap up, what does all of this mean, right? When you bring all of this together, LPs love this story, right? I want to be selfish here. It makes fundraising quite easy. We are 2x challenge qualified. We got qualified 3 years ago. We met all the 3 criteria. So what I really like about the whole LP conversation is it is not a DDQ on gender is why they're investing in Lighthouse. They're giving us money because they like the way we are operating. So I think that is really fantastic. And before all of you come to a conclusion that we are drowning in some ESG dollars, I think this is the important data point. 15 of the 475 was 2x qualified, right? So it's not a lot of money. But what we like about it is that it's real capital. It's not a side pocket that we have to do multiple things with these LPs. They're coming into the main fund and sort of helping us out. So that's really the story with Lighthouse. My sort of closing comment would be that if Nupur calls, take the call because you'll still be standing here, but you can talk about something you've built very proudly. Thank you. Yeah.